Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, it's not just me. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. The mad scientist, Aaron St Denis himself will be joining me today. You've seen him, of course, co-founding the FF Universe. He's one of the expert rankers and writers for Fantasy Pros. You've seen him contribute to PlayerProfiler as well, and, of course, all over Twitter. We're going to be breaking down some of the trending topics, and we're going to get some of his takes for the 2024 season. We've got a great show lined up, so go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Aaron, how's it going, man?
Not bad, not bad. I have not had my coffee this morning, so I am not nearly as energetic as you. I came in more like a 5. You're up at a 9. Maybe I need to go hit the coffee maker here.
It's all right. It's, that's what we do here on Wake and Take. We wake up and I yell.
Yeah, you will wake people up. That's for sure. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on here. We've got a good show sheet lined up. And spoiler alert to the audience, we're actually going to record a little episode after this talking my Atlanta Falcons for one of your podcasts as well. So, guys, make sure you check that out. I'm sure we'll have more to talk about after the show on where you can find some of Aaron's work. But it's going to be...
This might be my first ever home and home here. And of course, right when we start recording, the mailman gets here and I'm like, you got my dog barking. So that'll wake me up. But
that's all right. That's all right. Sounds like the dog's woken up as well. We are ready to talk some football, man. Why don't we go ahead and jump into I guess I would just call it the kind of the biggest story right now, at least in terms of players at this time of the offseason. Brandon Aiyuk, there's a whole contract situation going on. We don't necessarily have to go into the ins and outs. I do want to ask you, though, at his current price tag, would you be buying or selling Mr. Aiyuk?
I think I'm buying. It's not. I think it's the only story right now. It's boring. There's nothing to talk about but Brandon Aiyuk. I'm buying. He's going 26th overall, so beginning at third round, wide receiver 15. He's basically the same spot as Debo. Debo's going 23rd overall, one receiver spot in front of him. If he stays in this situation, we know what to expect. He was good last year. He's going to have his wide receiver 1 weeks, his weeks where, it goes to a Kittle game or it's a Debo McCaffrey game. So there's always that too many mouths to feed. But I think what we got last year is worst case scenario for him. Like, there aren't too many situations that he moves on to that get worse. It's not like he's going to go anywhere. And none of the teams that are like the Eagles aren't going to have. He's not going to be their wide receiver 3. He goes to Pittsburgh. He's the wide receiver 1. And it's a monster year, and he doubles his ADP. So I think at his current cost, I am in just because really the situation can't get worse. There's not – can you name a more talented offensive unit than the Niners? It's tough.
No. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm definitely not buying Brandon Aiyuk, but that I've never he's just a type. His archetype of wide receiver is just never one I'm generally fond of in fantasy. I think he's a great player, and he's, of course, been hyper efficient. We saw it last year, just a number of efficiency metrics that he excelled at. Finished with over 1,300 receiving yards off of only 75 receptions and barely crossing 100 targets. That's hard to do, and that's probably going to happen again. You say it's you say it's probably worst case scenario. I might say that's just about what we can expect. I can't imagine much better, to be completely honest, in that offense. But I also don't expect much worse either. I still think he's an 11 to 1,400 yard receiver with, the 7 to 10 touchdowns, or 5 to 10 touchdowns, I guess, depending on how they're, spread out throughout the season. So I don't think you can really lose much value personally with him, but I am probably a bit more of a offload or maybe down tier type of player when I'm looking at Brandon Aiyuk. Is there something you meant I guess, is there another wide receiver in that range you're comfortable taking if you're kind of asked with that, or is it just kind of it's Brandon Aiyuk time when you're staring there in the second round? It's like Aiyuk, Debo, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle.
See, that's the problem, I think, and that's why I'm more in on him. This range here is the range where I'm starting to not so much love the wide receivers. I take him over Debo. Nico's got just as many mouths to feed. Jalen Waddle's one. I've always been higher on Jalen Waddle. I know he's the 2 there and didn't have a great year last year, but I'd probably take Waddle. Pittman, I think, should have a monster year. He's the easy one there. Yeah. But his range, it's a lot of running backs here. He's got DK Metcalf. This seems to be the range of wide receivers where they're very talented. T. Higgins, wide receivers that are ultra talented, they've just got too many mouths to feed on the roster. And that's, like I said, that's why I'm not out on him. I'm not necessarily buying high. I think you buy medium. He produces at his value. I'm not necessarily out. It's kind of a mediocre for me. I do prefer him over Debo. And like I said, a few other receivers in his range.
Yeah. And I think that's reasonable for sure. I'm a bargain bin guy. And especially I really like my Jameson Williams and Christian Watsons. And so I'm just imagining a trade package I could get, like downgrading Brandon Aiyuk to one of those.
You lost me at Christian Watson. I'm back in on Jameson Williams, but I can't do this Christian Watson thing again.
That's fine. I'm a gambler at heart, I think.
You're a glutton for punishment is what you are.
Yeah, I'm a masochist at the end of the day. Yeah. So I like your takes on the Brandon Aiyuk stuff. Even if I'm more of a sell, I do understand why you'd wrap your head around just, going and eating it. I don't think he's going to lose too much value for sure. I just, I might want to be more comfortable myself taking some upside swings elsewhere, but I of course like what he can bring. Like you said, worst case scenario, I think maybe is just going to the Commanders. And yet again, he's a number one option that has to rely on his efficiency. And he's going to still get over 1,000 yards and be a really good fantasy producer. So
I think worst case scenario, is he stays in San Francisco. There aren't too many rosters worse than that. Like I said, maybe the Eagles, they're also loaded, but he goes to Pittsburgh. That's a massive upgrade. He goes to Washington. It's Terry McLaurin. I'm out on Dotson. I think he's better than Terry McLaurin considerably. I guess there's a couple, you don't want him in Cincy. I can tell you that's probably a downgrade. But aside from that, I think he's worst case scenario right now. So I'd like to buy at this current price and just pray he ends up somewhere else and I get at least a decent upgrade. And if he doesn't and he ends up in San Fran, well, I've broken even and he's going to be a solid wide receiver for me.
Yeah, fair enough. So we'll move on to not necessarily a certain player, but, just what's kind of going on or what has been going on. And that is, of course, just our camps, the mandatory or the voluntary mini camps and just the rookie OTAs and stuff like that. There's some hype building for a lot of different players over this period. Is there anyone in particular that caught your eye, though?
I am almost useless to you when I read this this part of the conversation because I spend all my day either at work with my kid or actually doing prep for my work, and I'm going through stats, I'm going through analytics. I can't do this. All these accounts that you see the stupidest things come out of training camp. Unless I see consistent negative things about the same guy over and over again, I'll start to believe those. But how many times are we going to see rookie runs 1 yard route, catches the pass that's airmailed to him, and the hype train goes, I can't do this anymore. I can't do camp hype. I'm just done. I'm checked out. I don't even read half of these. Is there something that particularly caught your eye? Because I quit watching entirely.
Yeah, there's a certain way for me to look into this. I am with you, and of course it's gym short season, and I understand that at the end of the day. So that's why I usually tune out a lot of the big headlines. But I do honestly kind of fall for a lot of coach speak and player speak, if you will. I like just listening to what teammates are saying, and even opponents. Earlier this week, we talked about how Darius Slay was hyping up Amari Cooper and stuff like that. I just like hearing what peers think about players, and of course what coaches are expecting for some guys heading into the season. So some hype built around Jameson Williams that I'm of course buying into, that he's set up for a bigger role. Christian Watson talked about earlier, he's talking about he's fixed his hamstrings and went to a specialist. So we'll see.
I can't do it, man. When they lost me a couple of years, I might have been the beginning of last year. They had a Jordan Love hype video, and it says the caption is something like, watch as he scrambles behind, in the pocket, extending the play for 5 seconds, and then throws a dart 40 yards downfield for a touchdown. And then the first comment was, I don't remember what analyst, but he was spot on and said, if this was a real game where they could touch the quarterback, he would have been sacked 3 seconds into that play. That's exactly what it is. You see guys, George Pickens posterizing guys along the sideline. Well, of course, it's his teammate who's not touching him. That's why he's making the plays. So, like I said, I stick to if you see a consistent drumbeat of negativity, I'm really concerned about those. But aside from, something really earth-shattering coming out of any of these camps, I don't care. It's just it's so much smoke screen. How many times have we seen this, this player is not going to have such a heavy workload. We're going to have a 50-50 split. And then week 1 of the season, he has a 90% workload. And it's like, oh, I guess he lied, Pete Carroll.
Yeah, no, I think that there's a few of those. Like right now, all this Tank Bigsby hype is bubbling.
We did this last year.
I know. Well, then I'll ask you this. There has been, I think, founded negativity around maybe Kyren Williams and Javonte Williams. Are those two players that, you could maybe be kind of seeing the negative case for?
Okay, so Kyren we'll start with. I talked to him yesterday on my show on the Rams preview. Mm-hmm. I don't think this has anything to do. I'm scared of Kyren, not because of anything Kyren's done. I think he was awesome last year. For me, this is a case of the day 3 or undrafted running backs. How many of them have we seen where I said the same thing though with Isaiah Pacheco. How many of them have we seen come out, put up monster seasons to different degrees, and then the next year it's like, oh, we'll just draft someone else. We don't care. So I was already worried for the two of them. The Chiefs essentially brought in no one. It's CEH and a bunch of, lowly or undrafted rookies. I'm pretty much back in on Pacheco. Kyren, they brought in Blake Corum and invested pretty decent draft capital in him. I don't necessarily think he's going to lose his job. That screams a scenario where, maybe they're not wanting to give Kyren the workload they gave him last year, which is very scary because Kyren was most of it. It was all workload. Like there was no Cooper Kupp. Same with Puka. That's what worries me. Cooper Kupp will be back. Maybe they don't want to give Kyren a 90% workload and they brought in some help here. This scares me a bit. So I'm not out on Kyren. He's going like second round, middle of the second round. And I'm like, nah. And I seen the Podfather there say he has 0 shares. And I said, I respect that. I'm like, I don't think I have 0 shares, but the shares I do have are like late 3rd, early 4th. I have 0 shares of second round Kyren Williams. And I talked for so long, I forgot who the second player you mentioned was.
Javonte Williams.
Oh, okay. See, that's another one where I like Javonte. I thought he was pretty talented. I know he had the injury, and the concerning metric is his broken tackle rate has just plummeted from college and his first year to after the injury, and that scares the heck out of me. But the hype here is all Jaleel McLaughlin. What do they got? Blake Watson. I don't think there's any real competition here, and I still think he's better. And, second year post-injury, I think he'll ramp up slowly. And I think he should get back to probably 80% of what he was. So I have a lot more. Well, I got him. What did I get him? I got him in a draft maybe an hour ago, and I feel like I got 9th round Javonte Williams. So yeah, Javonte is scary to me. He's not as scary, mainly because he's 6 rounds later in cost.
That's fair. I like those takes as well. Very excited to see what happens with really the Rams offense. Talked about it on Wednesday's episode. How I'm very much in on buying Cooper Kupp and really just this Rams offense as a whole outside of Kyren, just at his price tag. But still think
terrifying. Puka's the same. Puka's price tag. Puka and Kyren, there is not a lot of room for profit there. You're buying at the absolute ceiling.
Yeah, and that, sure, they could give it to you. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try to argue too much. They are talented. We saw the production, but
Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 21, there's a lot of room for improvement there. Even he finishes, what's the worst he was before? A wide receiver 2? You're still making a profit. You can't really make a profit on the other two. So that's why I have a lot more Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I almost have too much Cooper Kupp, but whatever. Oh, well. So these are some great takes, man. Let's go ahead and get you to the take part of the show. I'm ready to hear what you got. We talked a little bit before the show. You think they're not that spicy, but I'm willing to bet that these are going to be some good takes. These are going to be good.
I told you about this pre-show. I'm not spicy at all. I'm straight up analytics spreadsheet warrior. So, you asked for spicy takes, and I said, I don't have anything spicy. It's not really what I do. Well, where do you want to start? Rookies?
Yeah. What's, I guess, your unhot take on your rookie? Who's your rookie flag plan?
The RB1 in the class is going to be good, Jonathan Brooks. And I get it. There's some injury concern. I think I compared this yesterday on my podcast to rookie year Jonathan Taylor. I don't think he's Jonathan Taylor. I'm comparing situation. It was 6 to 8 games of Marlon Mack kind of a split. And then by their bye, that was a poorly phrased sentence, but anyways, after their bye, they came out of it and it was all JT. I think that's how this goes. It starts off Chuba Hubbard. So Chuba Hubbard might be a good buy low and sell him a couple weeks into the season. I think it starts off with Chuba, mix in maybe some Miles Sanders. By the time he's fully healthy here, maybe a month, 6 weeks into the season, I think Jonathan Brooks takes over this backfield completely. He's more than talented enough. If he was healthy, I think he was not Bijan territory, but he's a much higher first-round pick in rookie drafts. Going RB26 right now, 86th overall. I think he finds his way into, I want to say somewhere around maybe RB 15 range. I don't think he's going to have enough because of the early injury concerns to find his way into RB1, but I think he's going to push, and this time next year, he'll be going from RB 26 to where he'll be a top 12 RB in consensus drafts. So I know it's not spicy. He was the RB1 off the board, but it is what it is.
No, I don't. I think that's a very reasonable take. It's maybe not a hot one, but they don't have to all be hot until you're hot. Your actual hot take, it better be hot. But this is fine. I like this take, and I think it's totally reasonable. I mean, especially in these underdog drafts, you can pair him with Chuba, not really worry about setting the lineup, but also just in your regular team too, manage rosters, get both.
You hated my take so bad, you gave me a different name. I see that, hey?
Oh my gosh. Sorry, I had Dan on this week. Sorry.
I only noticed it because I thought to myself midway through your sentence there, and it switched back right away. It doesn't like my name, but I only thought about that.
On all the others. I guess messed up going through the rookie one because I
only thought to look because when I looked down, I thought to myself, well, if you were expecting RC Fisher level hot takes, you're out here. And you're right, on the rookie flag plant background, it does not like me and it thinks I'm Dan, but it's all right, I'm Dan.
It's all right. Hey, it's a good person to be.
Yeah, I'll take it. It's a step up.
No. But I like
consider it a promotion.
I like the plant a lot. Jonathan Brooks, I think, is geared up for a great season. We're hearing Dave Canal. Let's talk about how his offense starts with the run game. They traded up to get him. Rachaad White was wildly successful in the Canales offense. I think Jonathan Brooks is going to be a true bell cow, especially going into 2025, but definitely towards the end of this season as well. I think he'll be on a lot of championship winning rosters. So I think that's a great take from you. Great flag plant. Let's see. Who are we sleeping on, Aaron?
Okay, my sleeper's not sleepy much longer. It seems like every day he goes up another round in ADP, but I was on the Jerome Ford train very, very early here. Nice. What's Nick Chubb? I had it up. What is he, 30, 29, 30? Coming off of a serious injury. Like, for me, the outcome was Nick Chubb may never play again. And if he does, like, we've seen these injuries with far younger players. It takes a year, maybe two, to regain what they had. He's going to be 31 by the time this happens. So you've got Nick Chubb at one point was going probably 3 rounds ahead of Ford. It's almost evened out now because lately – people are, I think, catching on that Ford's being undervalued and Chubb's being overvalued. But I think Ford finishes as the RB1 in Cleveland here, and I don't think it's even close. I'm not sure how Nick Chubb gets through this season or even posts an RB2 finish. I have no faith in this injury for a player of his age. So I was never the Jerome Ford guy, but at his price, he's RB38, 117 overall. I'll take that for a guy that I think is going to be the number 1 running back for Cleveland.
Yeah, Jerome Ford's another great take. It really, really is. That's actually one of the players I wrote about for the Player Profiler draft kit, which is supposed to come out within the week. So keep your eye out for that, guys. Jerome Ford, I think, is a very, very easy buy, even with the inflated price. And I might add, I'm not as much as negative on Nick Chubb. I do just think he's that type of athlete to where he can recover. I mean, maybe not to like the level of Nick Chubb, but still be a pretty good running back. But I don't think it matters. I think that still, even if Nick Chubb returns, that they'll split this backfield, that Nick Chubb won't be able to handle the workload that he was able to. I mean. And it'll be fine. Like both of them around 50%, which, spoiler alert, is exactly what Jerome Ford had last year with Kareem Hunt. And he finished as a top 24 running back, and he's being drafted right in the 40s range. So I think it's an easy draft button, regardless of Nick Chubb's health. So that's a really good sleeper. Even we're still sleeping on him. Honestly, he should be going maybe not quite as high as like Zamir White and all them, but like I think he'll finish around there. You know,
I just mean like a 29-year-old running back coming off of this injury.
Yeah,
They can't give him more than a 50-50 workload at best. And if Ford gets a 50% workload, he's RB38. He's free. So
yeah,
at very least, he's free RB3 flex running back. So he's not a league winner, I don't think, by any means, unless Chubb, goes down like Dobbins did when we seen Dobbins come back. He missed half the season again and had all sorts of issues. So I guess there's injury league winner appeal, which is true for most players, but at very least, he's got sneaky appeal here.
Yeah, I like it. That's a good take. Let's go ahead and move on to the buy or sell, or both if you want, but hit me up.
I do have one. I was having a hard time finding a buy. For me, it's T. Higgins, wide receiver 25, going off the board 48. He's another one kind of like the Brandon Aiyuk situation where he's always been on a loaded roster with Jamar Chase in front of him. Mm-hmm. Sure, you get him this year. You know what to expect. Tyler Boyd's gone. There's not really anyone else there. He's going to be the number 2, but he's easily the number 2. Joe Mixon's gone, so a lot of those passes are gone. They don't really have a half-decent tight end. So it's all him and Chase. Should they happen to trade him at some point this season? He goes, well, he's not going to go to Pittsburgh. I don't think they'll do that to themselves. But say they trade him to Washington. How many teams in the NFL is he's the easy number 1? There's a whole bunch of them. So
yeah.
He's just another one, like I said, like Aiyuk, where I'm buying in now, knowing that the price or the value may go up significantly. It's probably not going to go down much. So
yeah, and I think that T. Higgins, like he might have that wide receiver 25 value, but I don't think he costs that. Like I think you could get him a little. Like I like normally whoever rosters him is like a little bit okay trading him away.
Yeah.
You can get in at a reasonable price for T. Higgins. You really don't have to pay up too much for him. So I think that's a very good buy. And I'm a huge Jamar Chase guy. I was a little disappointed to see them, that he still did end up signing that franchise tender. I want just the Jamar Chase only season at some point. I think it'll be monstrous. But like you said, even on Cincinnati, he's a very valuable piece. I mean, they don't have Tyler Boyd this year, and I don't really think Jermaine Burton or Andre Iosivas are going to command a ton of targets. I think it's going to be pretty consolidated between Chase and Higgins.
Yeah.
And if he goes somewhere else, like you mentioned, whether it be this season before the trade deadline or next year, probably going to be the wide receiver 1. So I think it's an easy buy as well. That's a good one. Do you have a sell? Or shall
I do. And my buys, my sells, they're not about loving or hating players. I'm all about just, the buy low, sell. I treat this like a stock market is what I do. Yeah. So the tight end I chose as a sell is one that I love. But Trey McBride is being priced at his absolute ceiling. Like, he had almost no competition. There was no talent on that roster. He had 14 reception games. He's not going to get that with Marvin Harrison Jr. on the team. He's going to be he was the number 1 in targets most games last year. Mm-hmm. After he took over for, Zach Ertz, I think was the ghost of Zach Ertz was there. He's not going to be that. He's going to be the easy number 2. If Michael Wilson's not able to take a step forward. I love him. I still think he's a tight end 1, but this is one of those scenarios where if I can sell him now for a tight end 1 or 2 lower and get something with it, I'm absolutely doing it. And like I said, it's just about getting out at the ultimate, like their ceiling. And I guess you could almost probably say the same thing for Sam Laporta. I love both players. I love both tight ends, but man, there's a lot of tight ends that were great last year. If you look at their underlying metrics, a lot of the top 10 tight ends could be in for some real regression here and just back to a norm. And I'm not sure I want to be buying all of them at their high point here. So I'm trying to sell. I'm sure I'll be wrong on some of them, but I'd like to get out on McBride and make a bit of a profit here and get something, and along with it, if I can tear down.
Yeah. No, that has been. McBride is the one I'm not going to lie, I'm a little less confident in because I don't think he loses too much value. However, I'll just continue my thought. I have been very much attacking exactly what you're saying. Selling Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, maybe Laporta if the return is good enough. For some of these tight ends right after them with the cherry on top. Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, Travis Kelce, if I'm contending. I mean, like, you can get some really, really great tight ends
and not
lose any production and get something on top.
That's what I mean. I'm not saying give them away. I'm saying go get yourself a king's ransom. They're dynasty tight end 1 and 2. Go sell them. Trade down. If you're in a win now, trade down. Trade for Mark Andrews, whoever. Plus, you can get yourself an RB2 with them. Yeah. Oh, Andrews is old. I want, Trey McBride's a third-year player? Okay, I'll take that. I'll just win this year. Someone's got to win this year.
Exactly. No, I think that's a really good one. The tight end market in general is very strange right now. I think it will be shaken up a ton. And I'm excited to see it. I really am. And yeah, Trey McBride, I think with Marvin Harrison Jr. there, he just can't get the same amount of volume that he got last year. He just literally cannot. So it's an easy one. It really is. So those are really good takes. I don't think they were cold at all. I think those were some good takes, Aaron. You sold yourself short. Let's end it on a high note. We'll go with the hot take.
Oh, this is as close as I could get, but I think this one's kind of spicy. Obviously, factoring in that everyone's healthy, because it's very possible they're not healthy. If everyone remains healthy, the RB1 at the end of the season in scoring in Miami is Raheem Mostert, not Devon Achane.
Wow.
And he's pretty much free right now. He's going off the board. I lost it for a sec. I had it on but he's going up. Like Achane's another one in the group of Kyron Williams where he's 11 RB11 right now. So he's going off the board in the second round. I have no shares of second round Achane. Mostert, let me keep scrolling. Mostert's down here at 28, RB 28. So I think at very worst, they're going to be 50-50 here. I think Achane's being priced at his ceiling, and Mostert's the forgotten man because, he's old and injury prone. But unlike Chubb, who is actively injured and recovering, Mostert's not injured right now. He's just old. So I'll take him.
Yeah, no, I like it too. I am more of a Jalen Wright drafter. I'm not going to lie. A little bit later, I think that he's got some juice, but I am fully believing that this is a Miami backfield that will be a platoon. I do not see workhorse Devon Achane at all. I do not see a world where that happens. They're talking about using him as a slot receiver right now at camp, which could sound cool to a lot of people. Like, oh, he's getting receiving snaps. That means that they're not using him as a running back. So just as negative as it is positive, all of them are going to get carries. All of them are going to have spike weeks. One goes in the second round. One goes in like the 12th round. One goes in like the 15th round, right? So it's pretty easy.
But that's even more to the point. I'd rather have the second cheapest or the cheapest in Wright and Mostert, because we remember this last year, and I had some of these players. They had, 2 out of 3 games or back-to-back games where they scored 50 points. In one game, Mostert and Achane both had 3 or 4 touchdowns, 50 fantasy points each. You know what happened the next game they scored 50 points? They got nothing because it was all Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So they're going to have games where, I don't want those swings in a guy I've got to use probably as my RB1 or 2 if I'm going back-to-back running backs, but I don't want that kind of instability in a second round pick. I'll take someone safer and take Mostert late or pray for Wright in the 15th, like you said.
Yeah, no, I think that's reasonable. So would you say you're selling Devon Achane?
Yeah, well, I'm certainly not buying. Yeah, I think I'm selling. I am certainly not buying. I will sell. But again, it's another one where sell for someone in a tier down plus a pick or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Like get a good return.
Yeah. I'm not giving them away.
Right. Exactly. He's a stud, and we'll have some incredible weeks. But we saw his size concerns last year. The whole thing that we were worried about was that he'd get injured, and what did we see? Well, he got injured. So.
Yep.
I mean,
exactly.
So, Aaron, this was a very fun show. Thank you so much for joining me today. Why don't you tell the audience where they can find some of your work?
I have narrowed it down. I've kind of gotten busy over the summer. So right now it's pretty much just FFU, the Fantasy Football Universe, over at fantasyfootballuniverse.com. I still do a little bit everywhere. IDP guys, Player Profiler, King Fantasy Sports. I'm sure I've forgotten something, but that's more of a during the season thing. I got too much going on with the kid out of school. So I've kind of put all my effort into my startup with the other 3 guys here. So that's where I do everything.
Nice. Yeah. And go follow Aaron. I'll put his Twitter username in the bio for this show. Thank you all.
At FF Mad Scientist.
There we go. At FF Mad Scientist. That will be in the description. So go follow him there. And just go subscribe to the Fantasy Football Universe as well. Tons of great content coming out. And stay tuned for our Falcons episode with us two talking about my Atlanta Falcons. Audience, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys were incredible as always. I'll see you all back on Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern, the Player Profiler, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.